Numerous series to cover mental health, empowerment, podcast framework, and various intimate theories to get to know the hosts, along with occasional movies reviews and dives in pop culture with our event podcast episode. The Uncommon Place digs into bringing guests on that stories don't fit the mold and are very different. WV stands for the great state of West Virginia, and every quarter we cover something in West Virginia. Stacey and myself, JR, are your hosts, so please come along for this venture to our Uncommon Place.
Sorry, everybody, about that. I know the intro came in kind of low and then it got really high. I am back. We're here. We are doing a show, part of the interviews and sessions, and I have amazing guests with me. And listen, y'all know I'm country. I'm from West Virginia and Virginia at the same time. I'm originally from Virginia, so my accent and sometimes my enunciation of words gets me chopped up. And when I do with people so that the conversation is very fresh, I like to not do a pre-call. We get on here, we talk for a quick 5 minutes. Our personalities butt heads, or either they connect, and then we get ready to do a show. Now, my guest here with me, he has told me his name, and I'm looking at his name, and his name is spelled Anand. Now, me personally, I would have gone with Anand,
I've gotten that before.
but he told me a different way to say it. So I'm going to let him say his name first so that I can get it right. And listen, as technical as I am with all these bells and whistles and blue and green things, I always like to be respectful of someone's name and not chop their name up. So I'm going to pass the floor over to you real fast. Can you please give the audience your name? And I want to keep your name tight with me. And I apologize. I always make sure I want to be proper and not prim, because that's not me, but I want to make it proper. So go ahead.
No, I appreciate you wanting to get it right. My name is Anand Mahalingam.
Anand Mahalingam.
Anand.
Anand.
Yeah.
I got it. Anand.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with Anand. So Anand, the nostalgia question that we ask on West Virginia and Common Place is a real simple one. Who is
Anand Mahalingam?
Anand Mahalingam, yeah.
Yeah, very good question. Yes, Anand. I like to tell people, because my name is pretty long, like Anand's not even my full first name. So I like to tell people my name goes on and on and on, which helps them
get on and on and on.
Yeah, there you go. I am an actor and comedian living in Los Angeles. I'm actually from this podcast is in West Virginia. I'm from Pittsburgh, so I've lived 20 years of my life in Pittsburgh.
Oh, all right, Washington, PA.
Hell yeah. So I moved to LA about 10 years ago or so, and right now still living the dream. Trying to had my first time playing the lead role in a movie, in a short film that we're trying to turn into a feature film. But this was my first time being the lead in anything, so kind of just thought it would be nice to get out and talk about it, spread the word, and try and get people interested in it, so that Hollywood types can see that interest and kind of have them be interested in our movie.
Okay, so let's do this then, because we want to go back to your childhood. What was your earliest memory of performing in front of an audience?
When I was, I want to say 9 or 10, we have these, like, I went to there's a temple, a very famous temple in Pittsburgh called the SV Temple, and they would have cultural shows a couple times a year, where like the kids would do dances or sing, like basically a variety show. And so I remember doing a dance with a bunch of friends that, like, when I was like 9 or 10 years old. That was probably the first time. And then it went on to like me hosting the same kinds of shows. I would do the emceeing for those shows.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Okay. So that was like 13, 14.
So how did this MCing like help your confidence and your stage presence? Because here's my thing I'm going to throw in here real quick. You know, when you are out there MCing, I'll tell you what happened to me this past weekend. I did a public speaking about some things with podcasting. So I got the mic in my hand, and next thing you know, I thought I was a rapper. I jumped in the start shouting out people. I'm jumping around. I hit a spin move, hit a little. We can't say Diddy no more. That. Well, anyway, I hit a Diddy bop and got back up on stage, and Um, my wife, she's like, "Get back on stage now," or I'll you. So like, how did it shape your confidence in your stage presence?
It was like it honestly like I took to it kind of like a fish to water just because when I was growing up watching stuff, the stuff that I would watch kind of naturally prepared me for it. So I'm watching people like my mom and I would go, she would let me stay up late to watch Jay Leno with her, like the opening monologue of Jay Leno. So just like knowing, like seeing him and then like Will Ferrell on SNL reruns and like all these late night talk shows and stuff, just seeing them getting to do that, like kind of prepared me so that when the moment came, I was just like, this is like exactly what I've wanted to do for such a long time. And so my confidence when I'm on stage is just crazy, crazy high. And I also think part of what gives me some confidence is when I walk off stage, there's a bunch of people that are like, I wish I could do that kind of thing. So it's like a desirable skill that people have. But like, I don't know. And also like I kind of black out a little bit whenever I'm on stage emceeing and stuff. I don't really super remember what's going on other than my lines and stuff. So it's just one of those things where I know that I have a skill because of doing that. Like I've done it for shows where there's like 500, 600 people, sometimes like 1,000. And so just being able to have that in my head makes me immensely more confident talking to
Okay,
people.
okay. Now you taught yourself how to film make through YouTube.
Yeah.
What were the big challenges in this process? Because the reason I want to highlight this is because I found that amazing. Because we all call it YouTube Academy or University. Because I learned how to write a book from YouTube, which is I know
Yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah. So how did the
YouTube,
process go?
it's such a crazy skill. I was at school in Orlando. I was like outside of Orlando at this one school. Yeah, I like dropped out of college to go to the school for filmmaking, but it was like 4 or like maybe 6 hours a day, like four days a week. So it's like just not enough time, and for 9 months, not enough time for you to learn filmmaking like from a teacher. So I had to fill in the time in between with stuff. So like at the time, it kind of started with the screenwriting process where I would kind of just like they always say, like if you want to learn about movies, write your own. So I wrote one with a buddy of mine in like 9 months. We wrote like a couple drafts of like a 130-page screenplay, but a lot of the YouTube like education started with screenwriting, and it was like from screenwriting. It's actually no, it was before that. I was helping out with an organization and I was making videos for them. So I downloaded Adobe Premiere illegally, like I torrented it, and
Hell
then
yeah, hell yeah. That's what I do. I'm
yeah,
Kevin. My last name's
yeah, and so
Kevin.
YouTube tutorials, exactly, YouTube tutorials starting with Premiere and After Effects, and then I went all the way back, and then like when I dropped out, and then I started writing a screenplay, then I started learning about screenwriting and production and all that stuff. But it was basically just like, and I kind of wish that I could go back to these days sometimes, but like I would come home after school and I'd be like, all right, what's there to learn about today? And I would just fucking go. Just like that, I would be like the rest of my day would be watching videos on that, learning that, like becoming like as knowing as much about that subject as possible. And sometimes, I mean, it was sometimes a subject on filmmaking. Sometimes it was like, specific actors, like watching their interviews and stuff like that, finding people to aspire to be through their interview process and stuff. So it was just a whole mishmash of videos that I watched.
Whoa, whoa. Now, tell me about this experience. So you go from Pittsburgh to Orlando. We just talked about me being in Orlando. A bunch of my buddies went down to Orlando for film. Interestingly enough, they went to Full Sail University for some reason, and I don't know
Yeah,
what it is about Full Sail, but Full Sail knows how to draw them in.
Full Sail, like the school I went to, I like visited Full Sail's campus, and it's pretty nice. It's really expensive. The school I went to is like Full Sail's shittier cousin, is what I always say. So,
Full Sail's cousin Half Sail.
yeah.
So look, so you moved to LA and you moved there with no connections, right? Like you moved there just on
No.
your own, no, like you didn't have an uncle, cousin, brother, mother, sister, anybody that
No.
had a part out there. So how did you navigate building relationships and breaking into the industry? Because here's my thing that, and I'm going to throw this in there. I looked into doing acting and stuff, not necessarily in West Virginia, but I looked at, like, you know, how they would come into Pennsylvania, for instance, and it'd be certain places that would film things and need extras. One show in particular, what is it, Jeremy Renner show that's out? It's on Paramount. But whatever,
Oh,
you know what I'm talking
yeah,
about? Kings of
I
America.
don't,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well, they shoot in principle a little bit like between Washington and some places up there. So I know that you can find places to break in, but a lot of times, like you said, you got to be in Hollywood for it. Just because
yeah,
you're an extra in something doesn't mean you're going to make it anywhere. So
right.
how did you make connections and break into the industry?
Um, I got pretty lucky. Like I moved out here, I crashed with a guy. My first year out here was kind of nuts. I didn't really have a bed for my first year out here, so it was a struggle. But it was really like in terms of building a community, I kind of have a really great community in Pittsburgh, and then like in college, I went to Pitt too. So like I grew up in Pittsburgh, went to college there, had a great community there. So I kind of knew what to like look for, like what sort of green flags to kind of look for. But also, there's something to be said about LA specifically and just not just like the types of people that you meet, but also the manner in which you meet some people. And like you got to put some stock into that. Some of my greatest friends that I have out here are people that I met in crazy ways, or like, you go to a place to meet one person, you end up meeting this other person, and you end up being friends with the other person, like way more than way more than you were the initial person that you were going there to meet. So there was a lot of very random occurrences, but at the end of the day, it's like there's some people that you can just be real with. It's really hard to find in LA. Like there's a ton of people that are just going to use you for whatever they can, like whether it's like use you for career gain or use you for like emotional support, and that's it. But like there's some people that are out here that will reciprocate, and I'm lucky enough to find a bunch that do reciprocate, aren't just assholes, kind of shallow people. It's really hard, but there's other, like I took an improv class. I met people through that, like shared interests, was a big thing for me. And like joining all these groups, I'm really big on, like, I go on Eventbrite sometimes and I just search for a filmmakers event and I just click free and then I just go like to like two or three a month and meet new people that way. So it's just like and like you never know with LA, like you meet somebody at the most random event and they could be in your life for forever.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. Now, doing improv and you were getting into stand-up comedy, right?
Yeah,
Was this kind of like a pivotal moment for you? Because when you get into improv, like I was in school, we had this group called the forensics team, and we had dual improv. We had different type of arts inside of comedy and acting. We weren't an acting troupe, but we were supposed to be an acting troupe. So
right,
when you get into that improv and that comedy, you have to become an actor because you're taking yourself, but you're taking on another perspective, which I know
right.
there's many arcs to it. So was that a pivotal moment for you, and how did you encompass all this into who you are today?
Hmm. Very good question. I feel like, yeah, getting to do both improv and stand up. Improv, I haven't gotten as far into, but I've taken some classes at like some really big theaters and stuff out here, and just learning what more of a basis of what is funny. And then stand up, I've gotten to do a decent amount of stand up out here, and like I got to perform at the Comedy Store with like Robin Williams is like my idol, and like there's a picture of me performing at the Comedy Store, and a neon sign of Robin Williams' name is right next to me. So that was a pretty watershed moment. Is But I think comedy really, in terms of who I am as a person, I don't think I could do without comedy. Like I think that's a pretty obvious statement for some people, but it's like it is so baked into who I am, trying like being as funny as possible and being able to make people feel better with a joke is like so integral to my being. And I think years of doing stand-up comedy and improv comedy mixed in there has a lot to do with that, where like it's my favorite thing in the world to make people laugh and to like get a laugh out of random strangers in a stand-up comedy room. So yeah, and I tell people this all the time. Like I can't even be around people if I don't find them funny. Like I just can't. It's like I gotta leave. I leave the conversation. So
Okay, so let me get you with this real quick. You've been into some major comedy clubs already. What's been a memorable experience for you being inside of one of these places and either performing or seeing someone perform?
um just the other, I mean, like seeing other people perform, I haven't gotten to see a ton of really huge people. I was on a show that Arsenio Hall dropped in on, which was really
Oh,
cool. That was really sick. But just like like going to the Comedy Store is like a very special place to me because it's the place here in LA that has the most history, and it's also the first club in LA that I've played all the rooms at. So I got to just like there's this thing about I think it's really what helped me uh get used to LA too. Because when I first moved here, I was very homesick and I really like didn't like LA that much because the difference between Pittsburgh and LA is massive. And so I was having a really hard time connecting, and then I thought about doing stand up, or it was actually like after one of my stand up gigs sets that I had. It was at this one club called Three Clubs on Santa Monica Boulevard, and I heard from somebody that was there that Frank Sinatra used to perform in that very same club, and he would do like sold out shows and all that stuff. And then I was like, and they were like, yeah, we haven't really touched it since those days. So I was like, wow, I'm literally doing stand up on the same stage that Frank Sinatra sang. And then that like kind of did a complete 180 in my mind about Los Angeles. And so it was like, oh, everything about LA, it's like everyone that you grew up watching on TV and in movies, they walk these very same streets. They like, like they got drunk and they peed in an alley on the street, like they're doing all this stuff the same way that you're doing it. And they struggled all the same way that you're struggling. And so it really put everything in perspective. So being able to go to the Comedy Store, which is like a sacred, hallowed ground, and then being able to do a set on a stage that I know that some of my greatest comedy heroes performed on. And then like even like I went to the bathroom at the Comedy Store recently, and I was just like there's stuff like carved into the urinals and the walls in there that I'm like, this could have been here for like 40 years. Some like famous comic probably might have been like somebody that made one of these markings kind of thing. So it really does like ground you to like, holy shit, like there's so much history here.
okay, okay. Now, ooh, that was good. And then here's the thing. I pay homage to a news magazine that I grew up with, and I know you grew up with this news magazine too. Came on Friday nights, TGI Friday on ABC.
Hmm.
This show had John Stossel, which he was comic relief, Elizabeth Vargas later on down the road, but it had Diane Sawyer on there. And it had the late, great Barbara Walters. Do you know what show I'm talking about?
2020? No,
Yes, yes, that's right,
right?
2020. I pay homage to 2020 on my show. So I would like to ask you, and let me not chop your name up, Anand.
On it.
Anand. I'm sorry, I chopped your name. Anand. Let me do this real quick. Are you ready for your 2020 questions?
I'm ready. Let's
All right.
go.
So our first one is John Stossel. This is a fun question. All right. So how do you start your day? And do you wake up and look in the mirror and say your name and the sun comes out?
Uh,
And see,
no,
oh,
I
there,
wish.
that was a comic relief right there. You see, comic relief.
Yeah, I wish I did that. How do I start my day? I usually Uh, up until like 2 weeks ago when we had these fires, I was really good on having a morning routine and all that stuff. But lately, when I wake up, I wake up and I go back on TikTok because it's back now. But and then I scroll for a little bit. But typically, what I do is I wake up, I make this drink for myself. It's protein powder, flaxseed, and chia seeds, and I like hot water, and I drink that, and then I go on a walk. That's how I wake up.
Okay. Now, if you were right now, this is your Elizabeth Vargas question, if you're familiar with her. If you were to have a comedy troupe in LA right now, who would be the comedians inside this comedic troupe with you
Ooh.
and why?
Well, See, that's tough because I know so many funny people personally, but then there's also comedy heroes of mine. Do you know, can I, Elizabeth, how many members of this troupe are there?
You make that, you do all that stuff.
Okay. Okay. I'll go with five other people. So
And what
six,
night are you, hold on, what night are you headlining? What night? What night is this taking place? What night is it?
I would say, I mean, this is Friday night. It's going to be a Friday night
Okay.
show. Um, I've got to have my one of my closest friends in the world, Hannah Laskoski, be a part of it. She's a comedian. She's a ventriloquist comedian who's got a bunch of all these different puppets. She's great, and then also backstage with her would be awesome. So Hannah, I'm gonna go with Will Ferrell.
Okay.
It would be the dream of my life to be performing with Will Ferrell. Um, I would bring I would bring Louis C.K. Because again, a dream of my life. No matter, I mean, tough to say now, but like he's the reason why I got into stand-up comedy, and I've always wanted to see him live. I bring John Mulaney um, because also a big dream to see him, and I think hanging out backstage with him would be really fun. And then, um, ooh, I would go with oh Maya Rudolph would
Whoa.
be fifth, yeah, because
See,
she is so funny. She does shows here in LA where she does like comedy variety shows, but also she has like a Prince cover band that she called Princess. So she does a bunch of shows like that around. So she's a great, yeah, and she's so funny. So I would love to have her. She could do so many things with a variety show.
okay, so let me give you something hard to go on now. We're gonna since we're role playing with this. This is moving more over into Diane Sawyer's neck of the woods. Jerry Seinfeld shows up.
Yeah,
Okay. Jerry
I
Sein-
love.
Jerry Seinfeld, but hold on, let me tell you who he's bringing with him. He's bringing with him Billy Crystal. All right. So the comedy's going to start getting a little flat to me. All right.
Uh,
Then he brings Louis Anderson.
oh man,
All right. And they want to go up against your troop. And the reason that they came by that night and they've kind of invaded you like the NWO and WCW is because Jerry Seinfeld tells you all that you aren't his type of funny. How
right.
do you counterattack Jerry Seinfeld when he tells you and your group that you all are not his type of funny?
Well, one that would hurt because I also love Jerry Seinfeld. But no, I think Jerry's type of funny. There's so many types of funny that like there's so many things that are funny that Jerry Seinfeld does not get. So when there's other people that will say that. I mean, like, it's just not funny enough for me. Like we're living in a place and a time where you can get so much comedy, so many different types of comedy from wherever you want it. So, and it doesn't even matter if I'm not Jerry's type. If we're not Jerry's type of comedy, it just matters whether we're the audience's type of comedy. So,
Right. That's the answer I wanted to hear. All
yeah.
right, now on to the personable questions. And this is the thing that what happened with Barbara Walters as a kid. Her show cut off at 11 o'clock if it sucked or if it was sour. They would let it run over to 11:05 to make some parents mad for some reason. Like I always wonder, why do parents care about the news on Friday night?
Mhm.
You just want your kids to go to bed so you can go have fun, whatever you're doing. But I still don't understand why they want to watch the news on Friday night. You got the whole weekend. Who cared about Friday
Yeah,
night? Just have fun. So if she did well, she went further on. So are you ready for your Barbara Walters questions?
let's do it.
All right. How do you stay motivated and creative in a competitive industry?
Um, there's days where I think you have to have perspective. I think you have to have perseverance, and um, you have to have a certain level of audacity. I think the maintaining that part is probably one of the hardest things to do, is because like you can create work and then once you put it out there, it depends on how well it gets received and all that stuff. And then either you take that advice from the audience and you mold whatever you made, whatever you make next time into what the audience wants, and then you become more of a people pleaser, or you just have the audacity to be like, I made that, and then now I'm going to make this because that's what I want to do. So I think like maintaining maintaining that is really hard. What makes it easier is being friends with other artists, being friends with other talented people, because they inspire you to do really, really fun stuff. So like seeing your friends get really good wins and working with friends and stuff uh, helps motivate me.
Okay, I like that. Now, something that is harsh in Hollywood, and I've seen it on TV, you've seen it on TV. There's two words: rejection and failure. Each one of those stands out in a different merit. And when I say merit, anything with a merit had a lesson to it. What was a rejection and what was a failure that turned into a lesson for you that gives you merit today?
Um, let's see. I would say there's so many of those. Like, kind of like I've been here for this is going to be my 10th year, and I chose two particular professions within this industry that are like kind of synonymous with failure. So like stand up, you fail more often than you succeed. In acting, you fail even more often. So um, there are times when like there was one time years and years and years ago, I would say like 5 years ago, um, I got very close to the final callback for this role on a TV show on HBO, and I found out that I was the reason why they didn't pick me is because they had already cast the scene partner that I had for that particular scene, and my scene partner was like 5 feet tall, and so I was too tall. So they went with the other guy because he was shorter than me.
Wow.
And I'm just like, and I heard that, and that kind of changed my perspective on like every audition ever. Where it's just like sometimes it's just like out of completely out of your control with auditioning. And like there's something that I've kind of like when I first decided to move here and do all this stuff, I kind of prepared myself for failure a lot, where I was just like knowing like every bit of advice that I would hear from like whenever I would go on my YouTube deep dives was like, be ready to fail. Just be ready to fail. It's going to be really, really hard before it gets really, really good. And so I was kind of buffeted by that. I think I'm used to it in a way where it's like I'm able to find silver linings for a lot of bad like failures or whatever that have happened to me. Because it's also like failure will pass, success will pass. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
That does answer the question, and thank you for those 2020 questions. Now, on to the last topic before we get out of here. You do method acting. So right now, I need you to do some method acting for us, and get into the role of Mr. California for us, please. We
Yes.
want to hear a little bit of Ronnie California.
Okay. Well, I mean, what do you want to know? This Ronnie is a it's a short film which is playing. It's 16.5 minutes. That's it. Um, and it's playing on very private playing right now because of the film festival circuit and all that stuff. We're trying to get into film festivals because once we get into film festivals, then studios will notice us, and studios can give us the money that we're looking for about $2 million for a budget for a feature film. And either we are getting the $2 million or we are getting a producer that can find us the $2 million and then sell it to a streaming service or Netflix or something or a studio for a movie on the big screen.
So there's a proof of concept right now that
Yes.
you might be able to put a little snippet in the world when it gets to its last once it gets past its last legality, correct?
Well, there's a trailer now. There's a trailer out for 45-second trailer.
Give us a shameless plug real quick.
The trailer is out on my Instagram profile at Yananbai. But the trailer is out, and then if you like the trailer, you can message me, and I will send you the link to the whole movie, and then you can watch it if you want.
Thank you very much for that. And the reason I wanted to do that right there was because that, you're an actor, and given
Yeah,
the character, you have to play that character. And when you take a shower, you wash the character off, and then it comes back, or it just stays with you. And if it stays with you, then you're my type of actor.
yeah.
And you're my type of comedian because you changed the enunciation of your voice. You made it into something that to me would sound stereotypical to a degree.
Right,
And I thank you for that because that was a bit hilarious. I didn't want to laugh on air because I got to be that personality. I got to be like Tavis Smiley. I got to be tight with it. But I want to tell
right.
you, thank you for that. There. Now we're gonna move along to the last part of the show. This is a testimony that I give to you about yourself that I just decided would be you for today. Tenacity. Tenacity is a word I use all the time, so we're not going to use that. Fortitude. It's a word I use all the time. We're not going to use that. Um, Responsible. That's a word that I don't use very much. You were very responsible. You took some time. You made sure that life worked out for you. You decided at some point that a bed wasn't important. A couch or a futon can take care of you. You didn't sleep on too many floors, I don't hope. And I hope you never had to sleep in a sleeping bag outside. But if you did, you did. You paid your dues. You have paid the cost to be the boss. And if you're not the boss right now, you're the sub boss or the middle boss on a video game before we get to the big boss. So wherever you are, you're a boss. You have a boss in your title now. Um, Paying homage to people, respecting an art, because acting, comedian, being an improv, that is art. Respecting that, and churning out your own version of it while still being humble and respectful of the people from the forefront and the people that are definitely gone, like really gone.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you thank you for that because it takes a lot to do that because you could have just came out here and been real fresh and done some new stuff and then you would get criticized. And the greatest thing about comedy that not every comedian stand up stands the test of time. I mean, honestly, there's only one guy that I can ever remember in my generation in the past 20 years that his comedy to me honestly doesn't stand up to the test of time. And please don't cancel me for this, but that's Dane Cook. Dane Cook is the only guy that I've ever met that he had a long run and then he disappeared.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with all of his work, but
I remember the good old days with Dane Cook. Yeah.
right. And we don't even hear from him now. Like I don't know
No.
if he's still doing children movies or not, but he's my greatest example of what a good prowess is, but no one got behind him and kept the takeoff going.
Right.
He made movies with Jessica Simpson. Like what happened to my
Yeah.
dude? But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
that's not gonna happen to you. So the floor is back over to you now. What I need you to do is close out this show with a mission statement and where you want people to go in the direction of Ronnie, California, when they meet and greet him across the screen, be it on a streaming service anywhere except Tubi. We want this movie on Netflix. I love
Yes.
Tubi. Tubi will be fine, but
Yeah.
me and you can go out there and get a GoFundMe started and do a Tubi movie.
Yeah. We could do a two B movie right now from this just now.
Right, right now
Yeah.
we could, you know. And so lead this show out and you give the final closing remarks and you're gonna end the show for me.
Man, thank you. I just want to say it's what a great like positive energy you've got going. Normally, I will tell you, normally I saw West Virginia and being from Pittsburgh, I was like, is there going to be some animosity here? I don't know because, we have like I remember when I was in college, we were burning couches whenever we beat the Mountaineers and vice versa kind of thing. But no, it's wonderful, positive, and like the questions were great. I loved the 2020 angle to it. And then as far as a mission statement goes, I think, I have really high hopes for 2025. There's a lot of things percolating, some stuff that might take a little bit of a delay because of some natural disasters that are going on. But, um, 2025 is going to be a big year, I think, for a lot of people. I think the further away we get away from the pandemic and stuff like that, the better quality of life will be. And I think I've seen a lot of things about community, especially in the wake of these fires and the new presidency and stuff like that. I think there's going to be a lot of a big swell up in terms of community, doing things for other people. And I think all of us should focus on doing that this year. There's some stuff that I want to accomplish this year. I'm going to be in my very first play that I've been in since I was in high school. I'm going to be, I have a manager now, so I'm going to be doing, hopefully getting a lot more work from her and getting back and doing stand-up this year and acting in a couple different shorts as well. And then Ronnie, California, it is what we spent 2 years on that movie. Almost every day during a strike, my friend and I would talk for a couple hours every day about making the movie. I was a producer on the movie as well as the lead actor. And to me, honestly, being a producer on the movie was just as fun as being an actor on the movie because you got to be at the heart of the decision-making process. You got to help out with props. I had to find props, had to find actors for casting, had to find locations, was like in on all those decisions. And it really is like, if you watch the movie, I'm so proud of it. And I think it's really good. We've gotten into a couple festivals so far, and everyone, the feedback from the movie has been really, really, really solid. And I think it's a testament to everybody that worked on the movie. I think if you look at if you watch the movie, stay through all the credits because everybody on that movie gave their A+, 110% effort to that movie, and you can clearly see it. Like cast is amazing, costumes, like camera work, everything is like so good, and we really really want the opportunity. It's this, and I guess I should tell people what the story is about. Basically, it's Ronnie, California is a Indian immigrant in 1993 who comes to America with the hopes of pursuing the American dream of owning his own business. The only problem is he's an idiot and he's bad at it. So the business is failing, and he tries to make ends meet by opening a gambling ring in the back room of his business, which is a sari shop. So then the cops close in. He's like starts defaulting on some, like in the feature film, he has to pay back the loan for the rent for his shop, but he's running low on money. So he does a gambling ring. He tries to start a prostitution ring. None of it works out, and calamity ensues. So it's kind of like very uncut gemsy kind of vibes for the movie. If you have watched the movie or are a fan of that, please check it out. It's an immigrant story about the Indian experience that you really never see, which we're really proud of. So I hope I did a good job selling it. But yeah, please check me out. I'm at Yanandbhai, YANANDBHAI on all social media.
All right. And one last thing I need you to do for me. You didn't get back into character. Can you give us the goodbye in character?
Well, everybody, I just want to say, fuck you. Okay, just give me the money and then I will see you later. Don't even worry about where it's going. Don't worry about what I'm going to do with the money. Just give it to me and you'll see the riches. And have a great day.
All right, now let's let that British lady send us out.
Please follow WV Uncommonplace on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, where we have some great content, Facebook, LinkedIn. Hit up the merch store at oncommonplace.square.site. Join the email list from the website, and rate, subscribe, and give feedback from your favorite podcatcher. And lastly, thanks for listening, and tune into the next episode.